Hark, hark, hark.
Never sold my soul to the devil, but I can say you his. Welcome to Dante's America, where the demons live. Can you tell me the difference between the snake and the rib? We take the witches to the stake just because of Eve's bid. I got nothing to give, cause there's something to take. I plot my escape while drinking fermented grapes. The undead, the Dracula, the bat with the cape. Can't see the execution, the space where lurky smiles or sobs. Do not bungle the job, you might trouble the mob. They will have you for lunch, anybody gets touched. The prostitutes don't clutch, and the ghosts stay hutch. I move smoothly for the booty, need my gold in a plush. So welcome, hear ye, come one, come all. This the last of days, masquerading deaths at the ball. Watch a dragon soar the sky and breathe fire on all. Strive to stay alive, because the wolf don't crawl. Yes, the eagle is law, we hunt the feeble and small. I'm not speaking to y'all, this is silence and secrecy. Providing the mystery, right story about victory. My blunt stay hickory, bitch niggas can get with me. Not only OG, you know that shit ain't on history, nigga, fuck it. I catch a traitor's head in a bucket, I'm never trusted. My sword is never rusted, I'm played with the disgusted. Amazed and I love it, guns blaze at the summit. Gargoyle, who want it? Survive fights with nights, so watch your eyes turn bright. Keep your rosary beats for things that bumper tonight. Cause even saints face the tank for a piece of the bank. We all moving up ranks with these double-edged shanks. This is pirate and plank with song and strong drink. How long will fate take with bad success and good mistakes? We all gotta wait for the black or pearly gates. I was never early or late, the right don't debate. No, I won't hesitate. Rip his nose off his face, put his head on the plate, then I'll boil it with dates. They'll taste checkmate and then we all say grace.
Oh, oh, Cinderella, what can I tell ya? White dress or black leather, what can I tell ya? Oh, oh, Cinderella, what can I tell ya? With a little bit of game, we'll make your life better. Oh, oh, Cinderella, what can I tell ya? White dress or black leather, what can I tell ya? Oh, oh, Cinderella, what can I tell ya? With a little bit of game, we'll make your life better. Lottie-dottie, we likes to party. I like your pretty face and your thick ass body. What you working out for if you ain't trying to get naughty? And then she finally caught me in the corner of the club, trying to see my diamonds if they really what it was. This is what it is, bitch, you ain't getting none. This is MOB, and I'm just here for some fun. Cause if you fuck with me, you gon' be out here on the run. Then she looking at me, smiling, confused and stunned. I gave her my phone, and she gave me her number. Let her touch on my chrome, let her sit on my leather. Then I took her fine ass home, I'm her midnight lover. Oh, oh, Cinderella, what can I tell ya? White dress or black leather, what can I tell ya? Oh, oh, Cinderella, what can I tell ya? With a little bit of game, we'll make your life better. Oh, oh, Cinderella, what can I tell ya? White dress or black leather, what can I tell ya? Oh, oh, Cinderella, what can I tell ya? With a little bit of game, we'll make your life better. I call her Cinderella and I call her Snow White, and she's looking for Dracula and don't care if we fight. Only going by her senses cause she knows it feels right. She needs dissimulation, she's the lady of the night. Fuck all that waiting, she's about that life. And it's money she's chasing, that's whether wrong or right. You will give her some roses and she will send me a kite. Better break for high stakes so your future is bright. Cause it could be dim and it could be dark. So she walked up to my altar with her soul in her heart. She said, I give these two to you and just don't take them apart. And I will give you everything as soon as I start. Yes! Oh, Cinderella, what can I tell ya? White dress or black leather, what can I tell ya? Oh, oh, Cinderella, what can I tell ya? When a little bit of game will make your life better.
What is good, good people? What is good? The Money Religion is here. The God 720 is here. I hope you all had a beautiful Christmas, spent time with family, and now it is time to get back to it. You understand me? Bills got to be paid up in here. So go ahead and donate and buy the books. Most definitely buy the books. You will need the books. And as a matter of fact, before we even start today, I think pertinent for me to play this little clip here from a commercial that I posted up on my TikTok. And it's very, very important, pertinent to what's going on. Okay, hold on. Let me go ahead and pause it. But, okay. Yeah, so today's video is going to be about the movie Nosferatu, which there was a lot of hype around. It was released on December 25th on Christmas Day. I went and saw it last night. We needed some medieval recharge on the medieval battery of mine. I'll be connected to the medieval dimensions for the rest of my days, obviously, and it'll be linked to my bloodline for the rest of their days as well. There's nothing wrong with that. As I stated in many videos before today's video, that, we don't understand the culture we're in until you study the medieval times, which is a composite of Greece, Rome, and many other time periods. I mean, Greece, Rome, Egypt, there's Judaic sciences, there's Moorish sciences, and they're all sort of like melted in to a unique alchemy, which that alchemy would definitely be the English language first and foremost, before we look at what has branched off of the English language pertaining to civilization and part of our progress relative to specifically industrial inventions, okay, things of that nature. I don't want people to mix up this word progress with what they're trying to do with calling it social progress by inviting all of this, they, thems, and all of these other genders and all that other nonsense. That is not a progress. That is called the retardation. That is called the backwardness. Okay, so let me just clear the air on that. But I definitely wanted to go see this movie as the original movie, Nosferatu, came out in, let me see here. The original Nosferatu came out in, let me see here, 1922. Okay? So we're exactly 102 years in before we remade it. I do not know the details. I do believe it was a silent film. So I'm not stating all of this because I never saw the original movie. But this movie is it was unique, and it was a work of art. I will put it there. I will salute the director and the writer for what they did with proper medieval presentation. That was definitely done very well. There was a couple of things that was Nosferatu the vampire has joined us today. But the movie does it gets its stars. I'll give it a 4.5, I guess. And that's because I understand art. It isn't going to tickle everybody's fancy. There were a lot of key pivotal things that come directly out of the medieval literature that was definitely interwoven into the script. And I do salute for that, for having respect of history and having respect for folklore and having a respect for occultism. It was done correctly. I can't say the same for Lord of the Rings or, what's the other one with the little kid? All of those movies, the Twilight and all of those movies. I haven't watched those films, So, yeah. I didn't watch the other versions. I haven't seen those. But due to the fact that I compiled literature pertaining to those times directly from those times, the Kicked Out of Heaven, get them now if you don't have them. This is deep levels in Western culture that the native is definitely not going to comprehend unless you've been through the studies. And specifically mine. I don't think there's probably anybody else on planet Earth that is going to be able to directly explain what was going on in this film. There's a multitude of different levels that are being spoken about. So let me play this little clip before we go into it. This is Jordan Maxwell here giving a little description on what we're in pertaining to Western civilization. So I'm going to play it. Here we go.
Is based on the white man's culture, and the white man's culture comes from Europe. And in the European section of Eastern and Western, well, all of Europe, Europe is a white man's home, okay? And for 1,000 years before the Roman Empire ever existed, and it still exists today in Europe, was a whole system of government, religion, law, etc. was already established before Rome ever came about. And that whole system of government over the white man's world of Europe 1,000 years before Rome was called the Druid system. Druids, well, they were the lawyers, the attorneys, they were the judges, the religious leaders, they were everything. The doctors, the medical, everything was Druid in Europe. One of the most important symbols in the Druid religion was a magic wand, like the conductor of an orchestra. He waves his magic wand, and you had better dance to the tune, because he's the boss.
So
magic wand, like Merlin the magician, were always made. Magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree, made out of Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood.
Okay? So once you understand, it's the magic of Hollywood that's orchestrating the whole world to dance to a new tune. So.
Wow. So where does that leave us?
It leaves you in a world of trouble. If you are ignorant, ill-informed, and unread, you need to open your mind and discover for the first time that law, courts, education is all part of a system you need to begin to open your mind and study. Western civilization.
Yeah. You see that? You need to open your mind and study. If you are not well read, luckily I was able to compile the information to give you a little shortcut. Rest in peace to Jordan Maxwell, and that was Jordan Maxwell saying the white man. He does talk like that, in similarity of Malcolm X saying the Negro and the black man all the time. You dig what I'm saying? So let's start with Nosferatu. First of all, here are the witchcraft levels that are presented in the film. The first one that overlaps everything is the activities of the Sabbath. And that falls into the space of the incubus, and which is the male on the female, which is what we saw in the film. And that is part of sleep paralysis, is the medical term for the incubus activity, which can be correlated to possession. And that's how it would be classified in Catholicism. Now, in the film, there wasn't a lot of Catholicism represented. It was represented indirectly and in a very ancient format, which predates 1838, which is when the film was supposed to have been dated to. It's dated to 1838 Germany. So we have to understand that the scene that they show with the Druid priest in the tribal peasantry areas predates 1838, to my knowledge. Okay, now it could still be in that same status today. As I remember, one time I was given a ride to I was doing Uber years ago. And I got a guy that got into the car, and we got to talking, and I could hear his accent. He said he was from Germany, so I got to talking about the medieval books I wrote. And he said, "Oh, you should visit Germany. There are still locations that operate in medieval fashion today," is what he was stating. And he was stating that, you know, they secure that by walls, as medieval towns, well, definitely where the castle was located, because peasant towns didn't have walls, and the peasant towns were in the village. That is also where the word villain comes from. So they said they were still operating behind walls with hay all over the ground. And I asked them if there was executioners, and they said, yeah. So I don't know. I can't confirm. That's what I was told. It could be a lie. But then at the same time, when you understand the social influence and the power that Europeans operate by on the world, the number one rule is to respect the elder ways, and you have to possess and make sure that the elder systems are still operating, a self-operating machine system, you see. And that is part of the reasons why Europeans have museums, is because they are honing the energy of who they have conquered, and also the energy of the vastness of the human thought, and you know how human thought has the potentiality to be infinite. It is infinite. Okay. So, and that goes into weaponry, vases, how people live, blah, 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 so on and so forth, which are shown in these museums. So to have a town like that in Germany that's still operating in medieval fashion, just like you still have tribes operating in the Caucasus Mountains in Caucasian fashion, that is a battery that is in support of your stockbroker that you see on Wall Street. They still have their ancient system in operation, and they respect and preserve their ancient systems in operation. That's also part of what Nosferatu is, for it to be rebirthed in today's system. Now, in the film is based on a female, and I will get a little descriptive throughout the course of this video, so I hope it's not a spoiler for you. But the girl, she basically invoked and woke up a ancient deity. This deity is Nosferatu, who is a form of death. And this form of death comes in the site of sickness, which is a plague. Okay? Plague, as it is well described inside the Kicked Out of Heaven, the symbol of the plague is the rat. Okay? But due to modern day science, we also see that we have the possibility of the flea to be a transfer of the plague. Okay? And then when we look at what is stated in the documents of the time, that we have a large range of possible stereotypes of individuals that may have created the plague. That would be the witches, that would be the Jews, that would be the gangsters of the time period, okay? And all of these three were in cohorts or in communications with a devil in the woods that taught them how to make certain concoctions and put them inside the walls of the well so that the waterways are filled with said poison, and the community would get hit with this plague, and that would allow the robbers, for instance, to go through the city and steal whatever they liked. Okay? So that was the plague thing. So basically what we're talking about here is the little girl. She was a little girl, and she invoked the devil and gave herself to the devil. And this devil was Nosferatu, the plague. So you have to understand that there's a myriad of different types of devils out here. Okay. And there is a ranking system, and there's a hierarchy system that is similar to what you see in your modern day government, or is similar to what you see in corporate structures. Also, royal hierarchy. There's a lot of these hierarchy systems are mimicked from the angel system and also the devil system. Angels operate in hierarchy, and also devils operate in hierarchy systems. Okay, so this is correlating to girls overall, who, when they're a child and in this high state of naiveness, they think that, you know, toying around with dark energies is permissible. Now, when we're looking at this zone is definitely directly correlated to the woman's dreaming, okay, which can branch off into the status of her attaining riches or living in a status of riches, or wanting a man that will give riches, or the man that is toying with her sexually, basically, okay, and has opened her creative space, because that's what sex does. It opens up creative thinking. And that's why, as I was telling the homie earlier, yesterday, you know, in all reality, and you'll definitely see this when you look at, you know, professionals and Hollywood stars of the 1930s and 40s and the I Love Lucy time period, you're not supposed to have enough sex with your female where she enjoys it, with your wife, supposedly. Because that enjoyment is going to, too much sex starts building testosterone in her system, and she will go into a more creative thought pattern, and she will also have desire in this realm, and you don't know where the limit can be drawn in those zones. She has been basically individualized, okay? So what happens here is that she has these dreams located in her mind of the dark one that's been messing with her sexually, which also correlates to the incubus, but also could be correlated to some form of molestation or rape that may have occurred. And it's also correlated to the dreams of riches or living in a rich state. Now, in this film, the female has no full desire of living in riches. That was never expressed in the film, but I have to put that for the understanding of our modern state and the different stereotypes that fall into that realm. Okay? So, she meets a guy, and she has a boyfriend that is working in real estate. And in this status of real estate, he's trying to climb up the ranks. And he's definitely trying to become more rich, or come into a more self-sufficient position where he can spend more time with his new wife, supposedly, right? Now, during the course of this, the girl feels the alarm that the dark one that she gave her soul to, and when she was young, messing around, and is coming back. And when he comes back, or is around in the vicinity, shall I say, he hasn't come back yet, but he notices that, you know, the one that has pulled him out of darkness, which is this little girl, and brought him back into the realm of existence, is now married to somebody, and that goes against the procedure of bringing him all the way into existence to take as many souls as possible, right? So the dark one that is up in this mountain, up in this castle, has called for the real estate agent, which is the girl's husband, to come help him look for a new location to live in that is closer to the city. So the young apprentice in real estate has been given the offer to go to the castle in Transylvania to assist the elder, this vampire Nosferatu, to get a new home that is close to the city. And he goes. And this is the scene that these scenes are very important. So he goes, and on his travels, because it is very far away from where they're at in Germany, Transylvania. It's a couple of countries over. So he goes through and he runs into the peasant tribe. And the peasant tribe are out there doing what you want to call the medieval version of the Bacchanalia. But it is an appearance for our modern understanding. So it's not truly a Bacchanalia. So basically, they're dancing around. They're just dancing around and playing music and slapping the spoons and things of that nature. But this is the peasant location, and it's a lot more graphic, shall I say, during the reality of what was going on during this time period. And in 1838, I'm pretty sure they still had these tribes operating. And these peasantry locations operating all across the board, because these were your quote-unquote farmers that created the food that you see in the medieval paintings at the king's table. They're the ones that farmed the land. It was the peasants. So he goes through the peasants, and the peasants are laughing at him and whatnot. And then he goes to a little hut where he could stay, because he gave the leader of the peasant group in the tribal area. I mean, it's not tribal. I want to stick with the word peasant, because that is the space in between tribe and the city, is the peasants, okay, the villains, and living in the village. They were gypsies, yes. He did use the terminology gypsy, which is very important, because gypsies are who speak in Romany, which is basically a language that has yet to be truly deciphered, are individuals that are nomadic, and they moved around all across the course of Europe, and with them moving around, they lived off of thievery. Okay, so the word gypsy was used to be in the nature of the film and the nature of the location, which is Europe and all of that. But those individuals were exclusively peasants and not gypsies. Gypsies were different, because gypsies would live right on the outside of the castle in tents, and they would be in the city the majority of the time, operating off of a lot of different trickery styles to thieve and steal and to get bread. And they moved in with, they operated with the Jews, and they also operated with the what they called the home breakers, or the highwaymen, is what gangsters of the medieval times were called. They were called home breakers or highwaymen. Okay, so they went in there, saw the gypsies and whatnot, and he got him a bed to lay in, and the oracle, okay, the elder lady came in and begged him not to go and whatnot, and begged him to to give himself to God. And this is where you see the sprinkles of the beginning. They used the sprinkles of the beginning of the Catholicism being wrapped into the Druid sciences, because it's very clear that they were still operating in Druid format by the attire that the priestess was wearing. Okay, the priestess was wearing ancient Druid wizardry clothing. Now, you have to understand that this is a time period where we use good for evil and we use evil for good. So it hasn't fully been separated into its full concentrations yet. That was the cloak and all of that she was wearing. And then they gave a very important scene, which is definitely found in volume 2. Very seriously, this is a very important scene about the vampire and disinterring the body, which means digging up a dead body and then stabbing it with the stake, and the body threw up hot blood. Okay, and also the riding of the naked virgin on the horse, which they had that scene, which that is really correlated to 1400 1500 time period. But that's where I documented it at, is not to say that it didn't carry into the 1800s, which could be the case. I don't know. But due to the fact that there's been sort of an eraser of plagues occurring, those rituals are probably forgotten within time. And plagues disappeared because of insulin, which insulin was just now being discovered at around this time in the mid 1800s. But I think that was discovered here in America. But don't quote me on that. Now, that scene was very important because they were defending against the vampire, and this ritual of the virgin riding on the horses around the town, and usually it would be more than one virgin. They would take maybe 4 or 5 and make them walk around the whole city with like a plow. Okay, that was like I stated, 1400, 1500 time period. Okay, and they were doing it in defense of the vampire, and that is not correct. It was usually the defense of the plague. Now, if the tribal people or if the peasant people knew that vampire represented the plague, then it would be correct. But we don't know what the peasants knew inside the film. Okay, so after that scene, which was historically correct, he had to carry on with his travels to get to the castle. And the next scene is when he traveled into the woods and he came across a crossroads. Now, the crossroads in Western culture, it is very well documented that this is where one meets the devil. If you were to look at the individual Robert Johnson, who is supposedly the first, the best guitar player who kicked off the whole energy or the stereotype of the black male playing guitars and stuck into the realm of music, it would be correlated to Robert Johnson, who Robert Johnson supposedly met a devil at the crossroads, and the devil tuned his guitar. You could look that story up. Now, besides that, when we go into medieval Europe, the crossroads was definitely the location where they hung criminals inside the goals, and what we would call today, where the term jailbird came from. They would have these big, empty cases that they would hold them into. Let me see if I can get it real quick. That they would put the criminals into so they could stand there at the crossroads as a warning to the term I used earlier, the highwaymen, because the highwaymen would travel to city doing their criminal arts. Okay, so having them inside these goals, yeah, there goes some. That was for those are the gibbets. Here's the goals right here. You see that? So they would have them hanging at crossroads. And they said one time in England, around the 1600s, 1500s, there was one at every single crossroads. So at the crossroads, the young man whose name is Stephen, and it's very interesting because yesterday was the day of Saint Stephen on the 26th. Stephen he fell into a euphoric state, and the horses were marching at him. And the horses, the black horses, you have to also understand that the horses who are used inside the incubus succubus realm, and that's based off of them chewing ergot and going crazy and being in a frantic state, and you can't control the horse, and are also a symbol of the devil. And the wolves are the symbol of, no, I've never seen a horse being the symbol of the devil, but the headless horseman is a different thing. And that would be the individual on top of the horse, where the horse is in sync with the headless horseman's operations, not necessarily the horse being a symbol in witchcraft. The horse is only a symbol in the incubus succubus realms. You only see dead horses at the Sabbath. You never see live horses at the Sabbath. They always show them in the status of bones. And that could be because when you make a horse with a mule, you create the donkey. I think that's how the system works. And the donkey is definitely what Jesus rode on Good Friday, and when he got the palms and whatnot, was getting away with the palms. And so donkeys are never seen inside the witchcraft paintings and system. So the carriage that the horses were pulling turns sideways. He gets in. He goes up to the mansion. The mansion is and then he's followed by 3 wolves, okay, and 3 black wolves. And the black wolf, or the black dog, is definitely a direct symbol of the devil, okay. So they pull up to the mansion, and within the mansion he's very scared and frantic, and he has to approach Nosferatu and call him my lord, and he wants to debate with Nosferatu, and Nosferatu is not allowing him to have any rights or privileges during the course of his stay. There is a lot of confusion going on with his being awake state versus his dream state. And then he has to sign the contract. Now, what's very interesting about the contract is that the contract had a similar signature, which looked just like this contract here. Yeah, it was written in a combination of that one and that one. That's Leviathan, and that is Beelzebub right there at the bottom. No, that's not Beelzebub. That's Bibris or something like that, and it's written backwards. Okay, but those are the 2 styles written on the contract. It's a very similar style of writing that was written on the contract. So that's what happened, and Stephen had to sign the contract, and his wife didn't want him to go to this mansion because the wife knew that the dark one that she gave her soul to when she was younger was on his way to reclaim, and to also reclaim as many souls as possible throughout the city. And the next stage, I'm remembering everything in my mind, so just stick with me here. So after that, Stephen had to stay there for a couple of nights, and I guess he was supposed to be killed but did not die. He ended up jumping out of a window from being scared about the dogs that were going to attack him. After he found Nosferatu's coffin that he was sleeping in, he tried to stab Nosferatu with a pickaxe to be exact, and it didn't work. And that is also stated in the Kicked Out of Heaven, the volume 2, where it mentions in the early times that there was no killing of a vampire or an undead, which the undead or a vampire came from a necromancer who was buried, and that's where they started putting the mort cages over the bodies when they died, or putting a brick in the mouth so they wouldn't be able to, or they also would put a bar over the neck, so when you tried to get up, it'll just automatically cut your head off, okay? And because you couldn't get a Christian burial if you were a necromancer, okay? So there are many mentions and many stories in the literature that comes directly from those time periods of these vampire things being stabbed, and that didn't kill them. So they did put that energy in the film, which is historically correct, but they would take the stake out and then use it as a stick to kill more, is what was stated in the stories that are in the Kicked Out of Heaven literature. That is not what happened in the film. So the pickaxe didn't work. 2 dogs tried to attack Stephen. Stephen jumped out of the window that was on the side of the mansion, and then fell into the water. Now, during the course of Stephen's stay at the mansion, Nosferatu was casting grand nightmares over his mind while he was asleep, so he could be in this status while he sucked the blood out of his chest, and which left multiple holes, and not just 2 fangs. It was fangs from the bottom and fangs from the top. and he was sucking this blood, obviously, to revitalize himself so he could move at a greater pace, move younger. But then at the same time, this is an entity that represents the plague, so he'll never fully be healthy. He'll be in a corrosive state because of that's what the plague does, and that's what he represents as the double entity that he is, right? So at this time, the wife is at a friend's house, a friend of the family, and she's going through hysteria while she's in sleep. These are signs of possession, that when she goes into sleep, she goes into another state or another world or another dimension. And this state, world, dimension is definitely what you want to call the Sabbath, okay? Now, the Sabbath, and why is it called the Sabbath, is because she's having dreams of the Dark One, who is Nosferatu, that she gave her life to at a younger age, and the dreams are obviously a sexual of a sexual essence, and she's having much orgasm from these experiences when she goes to sleep, and with this Nosferatu that comes into her dreams, okay? And Stephen falls out the window. He ends up getting found by another peasant somewhere. They do another ritual on him to try, and this is the only like early Catholic scene that you see throughout the whole film, is when they're standing over the body and they're trying to get the so-called devil out of him, and they say that Stephen is walking in the shadow of the devil. At the same time, the Nosferatu has a loyal, what you want to call an Igor, or more of an insane individual inside the city that worships him. Okay, now this insanity and how it's being described is basically showing you that individuals who don't have a logical, mathematical comprehension of this existence have a more of a spiritual, and that spiritual is a very chaotic zone, and they are attached to the support of specific entities that they run into in this spiritual dimension that is definitely outside of the realm of the mathematical mind. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a mathematical way to get into that dimension, and that is where we got the sigils on the ground. We have the 7-pointed star that was used in the film, and a lot of other symbols, which you'll see inside of paintings, medieval paintings, that is inside the literature. You have to buy the books at the end of the day. At the end of the day, you'll never be able to understand what Western culture is until you read The Kicked Out of Heaven. There's no scholar underneath the sun that is going to be able to break down the full capacity of what was going on in this film and how it correlates to not only the medieval times by being correct historically, but also psychologically when it comes into Western culture and how they operate. Okay? Now, so with all of this tone that I'm presenting here, you must also understand that there is a bottom line of cuckoldry that is operating, because she is married to one man who is the real estate, who is Stephen, but then at the same time, she's having, orgasmic lovemaking with the Nosferatu individual that comes into her dreams. So after Stephen gets all of this, they're praying over him and they're trying to remove him out of the shadow of the Dark One. He ends up getting back to the city where his wife is at. And she knows that, the Nosferatu is coming and he will be there shortly. And he did. And he got on, his casket got put onto a ship. And when he was asleep in the ship, and as the ship was on the water, individuals started falling out from the plague. So one individual knew that it was from this demonic, parcel that they have on the ship, and he went to attack it. And when he went to attack it, he got attacked by the entity that was inside there, and the ship was filled with rats. Okay? And rats are definitely a symbol of the spread of the plague, as I stated earlier. So Here, should I show that picture? Yeah, let me show that picture just for shits and giggles. For those who don't have the literature, let me show you how thorough it is when it comes to the description of the plague. There's a 200, 300 page section in here about the plague, okay? And you definitely need to understand the experiences of the plague in order to comprehend European mind and the mind frame of being better to be safe than sorry, okay, is how it works. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me see here. Let me show that. Is that the... No, that wasn't the direct druid attire that they were using in the film. I mean, come on, let's get to it. The people are waiting here. But yeah, so there was a very large cuckold energy there. And when he got back to the land and got back with his wife was definitely, horny gal, shall we say. And she wanted to make sure that she was in love with her husband more so than being in love with Nosferatu. So she basically forced him to commit to copulate is the word to use with her in a sort of a hardcore scene. There it is right there. You see all the rats? You see? Animals in the plague. You see how that works? You see? So that was going on, and when he did that, the contract was sort of altered because the truth to what was going on with the compact, and they did use that word, the compact, was that she had to fall in love. The name of the movie is Nosferatu. It's in theaters now. She had to fall in love or willingly accept Nosferatu's love in order to stop the plague. So when the ghost ship, when the ship got to shore, it was now a ghost ship. Okay, and this is how it is also classified in old Europe, and this is also where the word quarantine comes from. Is when a ship arrived at the coast or at the dock and didn't have anybody alive on the ship, and the ship was filled with rats, which there are many stories of this type of activity happening. They would keep the ship off of the dock at about a mile off for 40 days and 40 nights in order to drain whatever plague that was on the ship being carried by rats. But this ship showed up in the wee hours of the night, which was, as they stated, it was 3 a.m., which is the witch's hour. That was stated in the film. And when the ship docked, the Nosferatu had enough power from the many people that he sucked blood from in order to move on his own. And the rats definitely filled the community. When the rats filled the community, plague was spread. Okay, and the Nosferatu, who is the true source of the plague, as I stated, when you read the plague section in volume 2, which is about 200, 300 pages, you will definitely understand that the plague has a spirit of its own and chooses who it wants and chooses who is due to see the other side from your heinous acts dealing with humans now, okay? And during this course, they showed the death cart. They showed the death cart maybe 2 or 3 times, which was historically correct as well. There were so many bodies during plagues that they would have to come through with carts and just stack the bodies on top of the carts and then just keep on pulling them through the city. I got a picture of that up in here, too. Let me show you that. Let me show you that real quick. That's why you have to get kicked out of heaven. Because, and really when I see films like this, they're just trying to put things back into perspective because I came down there And, I altered some things and put some correction to some things, and it was needed, and not only that, we need to thoroughly know who and what we're dealing with and what your history line is. I'm not, I'm not satisfied with hearing that you're a pilgrim. It doesn't fit for me. I'm sorry. There's too much stuff going on inside of our society for me to just accept something about you're a pilgrim and you sat down and ate a turkey with some Indians and voila, we got Walmarts on every corner. It doesn't work like that. So, I'm going to give a little respect towards time, and we're going to see what the hell you niggas was really doing over there in Europe and why you really left. Okay, let me see here. And we could definitely see there was mass amounts of chaos that was going on, and there were some dark forces that were operating that we need to understand what they are so we don't be assaulted by these dark forces or whatever you're putting up in your movies, like the Twilight TV shows and your Game of Thrones and a lot of other stuff that you got going on where you're confusing history. And also you have entities and the names of specific entities on in these films, and that definitely has a effect upon those who are watching it and are ignorant towards what these names are or how they're represented. That's a death cart right there. That comes out of Daniel Defoe's book. Okay? So they had the death cart. They didn't have this many bodies on the death carts in the movies, but this is how many bodies were on the death carts in reality. Okay? So, it showed the death cart and all of that. And then she broke the contract by making love with her husband. And Nosferatu understood clearly that he had to get the husband out of the way. And that's what he felt, but that is not the truth pertaining to ritual. Because when it comes to the reality of existence, just like what would happen in old Teutonic form of marriage, as long as I got this woman over my threshold, she's my woman. There was no specific contract that was written in between man and woman in order to make them husband and wife. So the true essence of what the bottom line of what marriage and the union of a relationship is going to be based on the woman's love, not the man's. The man can love his woman all the day, all the live long day. That means nothing. Because a million men will choose that one woman. So it's always going to be based upon who that woman chooses. Okay? And that's how it's written for the ritual to carry out pertaining to the ancient doctrine. So, Nosferatu is now in the city, and there's 3 nights in which he can come by, and she cannot and if she rejects him continuously on the first and the second night, and then on the third night, everybody dies. So they discover the details to the ritual and ancient doctrine that was at one of the libraries or homes or something, and it stated clearly that on the third night, the girl will have to accept Nosferatu's love in order to stop the plague. She will have to, because Nosferatu cannot be seen by the sun, as it says in original. Let's go back to the kicked out of heaven once again, and that boils back down to a disease that was going on during those times. Right here. That is the original Nosferatu. Okay? And that is the Collins family right there, who were affected by porphyria. Okay? Porphyria is a medical condition that, and this individual right here, who you've seen on movies like Toxic Avengers and whatnot, also has porphyria. Oh, let me see here. No, he's born with hypohidrotic ectodermal dysplasia. Okay, so hypohidrotic ectodermal dysplasia makes it difficult. You don't have sweat glands and you can't be inside the sun and things like that. And the pointed ears and all of that. And low eyebrow, which is correlated to caveman and blah, blah, blah. Porphyria is where you just have two teeth that come out and they come out looking like fangs. Okay, and this is the original Collins family where they got the name Collins for, I think, that Twilight TV show where they called the vampires had the last name Collins. Okay, that's why you got to get the literature. This shit is real, B. Like, you know, I'm breaking it down to show you the combinations. So the combinations of the hypohidrotic ectodermal dysplasia with porphyria is basically a vampire. Okay, so this individual Nosferatu could not be inside the sun. So in order for the ritual to conclude, and for them to wipe the plague out of the city that was killing the city at this time, the little girl needed to embrace this devil entity that she brought up and opened up the doors for when she was a child. Okay, so the first night the woman rejected him. Because, and this is the same entity that's in her dreams causing all the orgasmic flow. And it's funny, you got to pay attention to the script because they even correlate to the uterus is alien information a little bit, where she says, she looks at him and says, "Oh, I knew you were near. I could feel you moving like a snake in my body." And Nosferatu responded, "Oh, that was not me. That was your nature." Ah, that was your nature. What are we talking about? We're talking about the parasite, okay? That is basically giving women the capacity for this Sabbath zone where they talk to these dark entities, and these dark entities give them the rules and regulations on how to control the everyday modern world by wordplay. And you can see that real simple. Remember a couple of months ago, all the girls were trying to use this new word demure. I'm demure. Where the fuck does word demure come from? You broads don't read no fucking encyclopedias. You're not reading no fucking dictionaries. Where does word come from? It's either one or two places the word comes from. It comes from CIA engineering, social engineering, where they just drop in a new word and girls just copy whatever the fuck they see from TV, which has a high possibility to be very true. Or it comes from what ancient witchcraft or old European witchcraft tells us, is that women in the late night hour, where she's having these spells and she's possessed and she's getting the orgasmic experiences from the dark one, tells her what to do during the daytime in this world where reality is at. And they bring these words and they bring these new styles and they bring these new nicknames from the devil. You understand? It's either one or the other. Okay? So that's what she said to Nosferatu. Nosferatu said, "No, it is your nature. It wasn't me moving around in you. It's your nature," which was Cahoon. Okay? And then another scene that was very important was right before she made love to her husband, Stephen. She looked at him and said, "You could never do what he does to my body," which is key. Once again, this correlates to what is stated about the devil in the Witchcraft in Volume 2. They state clearly that the devil has three prongs. And he could put one in her mouth, in her coochie, and in her butt all at the same time. That his phallus is that long to go into all holes at the same time. Some of this shit is fucking funny. That's why I love the medieval, because they even though it's dark energy, it always ended in some laughter, you know. And the shit is fucking hilarious. But yeah, so it goes back to that. The woman says, "Oh, you can," and this goes back into the dark ones, the satyrs in ancient Greece, and we're going to talk about it. Those who can feel that cut and make her eyes roll in the back of her head, which also may be a Sabbath zone for her psyche, and the majority of males on this planet who cannot. So this goes back to the 70-30% wobble of existence. 70% of the men on this planet have no suave, player, romantic, poetic skills for females, and they cannot, make the coochie milk. They cannot make the titty milk. They cannot bring great goosebump to the skin. You understand? And the majority of males can't. And they're not able to. They're disabled in this area extremely. And with their disability of not being able to have where they don't have a high attraction towards chasing a woman out and trying to figure out a woman, what happens? The pressure in their mind makes them fall into other departments, which is correlated to Greek mythology and Zeus, where Zeus, he had to change into something else to always appear to a female to attract the female. So that goes into a lot of the nerd males who have to have a lot of followers on the Instagram, or they have to have a Lamborghini, they have to have the Ferrari, they have to have the diamonds on in order to attract the woman, because they have no characteristical skills in order to do that. They have no interest in existence but the tunnel vision that they're born for in order to build and progress the planet, which all of this bounces back to the genius of the cocoon and the parasite, okay, which understood that, and she had to develop through the multiple races in order to get to that point. So basically, when we talk about the African race, that's why they have great, big sexual organs and all of this other stuff. It was supposed to be based on reproduction, but that was a mess up. They messed up in the laboratory. And then we go in, and then these same African people are highly spiritual, which was also a mess up. And then we go into the Indians. The Indians who are highly spiritual, and they have more subconscious and unconscious zones of sexual activity interwoven into their ritualistic practices for specific gods and goddesses, which enforced the line of reproduction. But that was also a mess up because there was too much spirituality going on, okay? Too much mythology and gods and goddesses with 8 arms and blue and all of this other shit, And then we go into the Asiatic, which would be the Chinese and the Japanese, who have a more base on violence, which sort of balance things for the parasite mind, because the parasite loves blood. That is obviously where they fuse into in order to control the human, and blood is a part of their thing. Leeches, worms, parasites, snakes, it's all the same family, if you want to look at it just by anatomy, okay? So, and then after that, they were more infused into war dynamics, the Chinese and all of that. And also they have a lot of experiences with death, which comes from the plagues. There was many plagues going on in China that are not correlated to the plagues that are going on in Europe, okay? So, but since I'm here in this space, we also want to bring to the forefront that Western society tries to blame Genghis Khan's son on the 1347 Black Death plague because they were in war with them at the same time, and those Mongols were moving around in that region, and supposedly they took decomposed bodies from soldiers that died in the field and flung them over the walls. And with flinging those bodies and entrails of humans over the walls that were in a decomposed state, supposedly started off the plague. But that is what European scholars will tell you. That is not what the information of the time period tells you. So the information from the first accounts coming out of Hungary, Normandy, and just to go in a little bit about Normandy. Normandy is come from Norman, which is also Norseman, which is what the Vikings called themselves, were the men from the north. Vikings were not called the Vikings, nor did they call themselves the Vikings during those times. The Vikings were called Norsemen or Northmen, which broke down to Normandy, which is the location that they established and colonized during that time period. So they tried to blame it on the Mongols for flinging the bodies over the wall. That is not what the documents of Europe states, and that is for the multitude of different plagues that occurred, because there was a lot of different styles of plagues It wasn't just one system, and the Black Death does not overcompensate for all the different plagues. What happened is that the Black Death was so large, because they say it's documented anywhere from 25 million to 150 million dead, supposedly. That's what the scholars state. I never added up all the numbers, okay? So you can't quote me on that. That's what the scholars state. That it was definitely an origin pinnacle point for the amount of plagues that occurred afterwards. And that closing point would be the Great Plague of London, which was, I think, 1667, which is where you just saw that picture from Daniel Defoe's book, The Great Plague of London, which is a classic material, and which is the same material that the universities of today use. Okay, when talking about literature, theater, or whatever subjects they may be correlating it for, because and Daniel Defoe is mentioned to be a black man. I will state that as well. He also wrote The History of the Devil, which is a 2-volume series, and he has other works out there as well. But anyways, so during the course of, I mentioned that part. But yeah, it was very key that she said to her own husband that you will never be able to do what the Dark One does to the coochie, nigga. You'll never be able to touch the coochie the way he touched the coochie. And that gives us direct incubus connection. That also gives us direct Sabbath connection. So, with her being told by the alchemist, who was outcasted out of some of the secret societies, or outcasted publicly out of the city, a neighboring city at that. So we have to talk about that a little bit, because I think that's important on how politics work and how secret societies understand the presentation to the public. So when we kick one occultist out, it makes it the peasantry and the occupants of the city, the residents, feel like, oh great, we've moved the evil one and now we can continue on, even though there's still secret societies and whole groups that are operating in this status of evil right amongst you in the city. But we need a scapegoat. So that scapegoat is the outcasted one, who we will appear to be insane to the public, and we won't necessarily, and we understand what we're doing with the scapegoat energy. So because there hasn't been a crime committed, we'll go ahead and move him out of the city, and then, you know, he goes into a form of vagabondism, which is living in the cave. But, you know, living in the cave doesn't necessarily mean you're a vagabond, and you'll see that if you study the medieval thoroughly. Okay, so what happened after that point? Nosferatu came in on the third night, and she accepted him. And when she accepted him, you know, they didn't make love, but the love was the giving of herself and the giving of her quote unquote all to Nosferatu. Nosferatu went down and had to bite on the heart, because the heart is where the love is located. And she forced her. She told him, no, bite my heart, don't bite my neck. And then he started biting and sucking the blood from the heart. And then when the sun came up, he was supposed to make a move, but he didn't. And she told him, just rest and just continue. Don't, you know, forget the world is the power that a woman's love has over a man, is to forget what your responsibilities are and to forget what is going on in the world, you know, and to be inside of her realm, and to be in her quote unquote motherly love, or her quote unquote chastity giving. Okay, if that makes sense. And when she did that, you know, and forced his head back down, he continued to suck blood till the sun was all the way up, and when the sun came up through the window, they both died. Okay, and that was the end of the movie, and now the plague was removed from the film. So, I mean, the plague was removed from the town in Germany. I don't think there was any mention of a specific town but it just said Germany 1838. So it was a very good movie, and as you can see through all the description I just gave, it is medievally sound. If I was to give a star rating based on historical significance and historical what's the word I'm looking for? Authenticity is a perfect word. I'd have to give it a 5-star. That's probably about the most historically accurate film I've witnessed pertaining to folklore and occultism, and also with the mix-in of reality. And the reality scenes were very real, as is documented in the Kicked Out of Heaven. And then another thing that was very important was the grasp of the plague and what the plague truly was during those times. And it definitely operated in a space of having its own form of intellect. And it would hop over towns, it would hop over homes, it would hop over people. It would take out the person that you're holding hands with, and and you would still be fine. You would be fine. But one thing that wasn't shown that could have had a little bit more to it was the effects of the plague on the people. That wasn't really shown. There was no big buboes, or there was no big black pus bumps. They didn't give, but they did show the decomposition that occurs during the plague on the individual Nosferatu. But he represents sickness, so that's going to be his conditions throughout the entire film as it was. But they didn't really show too direct on what the essence of the plague did to people, its effects and its symptoms and whatnot. There wasn't a lot of Catholicism in the film, and I understand why. A lot of people in Hollywood have been affected. Unfortunately, they've been affected by sexual assault, rape, and other charges that have been brought amongst priests from high schools that were Catholic schools and whatnot. And so that's why you always hear white comedians or white directors or producers, when they're being interviewed, give a shot at downplaying or degrading the position of the priest and what the Catholic Church stands for. That's modernism. That's the modern stat. I don't deal with modern Catholicism. I've always stated that. When I talk about Catholicism, I'm definitely correlating only to the saints, and that's it. All other practices of the church and whatnot, I don't stand for or stand by, nor do I implicate or none of that. I don't support. The rosary beads is definitely connected to the magic system of what is discovered inside of the boundaries of the Madonnas and the Virgin Marys and the saints. Okay, so that's my stance on that. So there was no Catholicism in the film. That's why I had to be a little bit long-winded by it. Usually, producers and all of that, they shy away from that because they were obviously assaulted, or they know somebody that was assaulted inside these Catholic schools. When that whole system of individuals going into Catholic high schools and then going into universities and going into Hollywood is definitely a MK Ultra line that starts. You can see that with Puffy. Puffy went to a Catholic school, and also the individuals that graduated from his same university are in Hollywood, and they're in sports, and they have a lot of wig out situations as well. Because us as the audience, we're always looking at these Hollywood stars, and we see these niggas be wigging out and be losing their shit. And that's because, the wires in the brain isn't all there from assaults that occurred while they were kids. Okay? They are the victims. They are not suspects inside these situations. Okay? And, yeah. I do believe the director did real good with the original hand moniker that was of Nosferatu that was shown in advertisements for the first film, or what was the moniker for Nosferatu was the hand, the shadow of the hand, and the clenching of the heart. He didn't do the clenching of the heart scene on the woman, which I definitely respect him for that, because he didn't want to give too much energy that we're snatching from the original film. He wanted to show, his own uniqueness in directing, and I definitely salute that. But I think the film was sound all the way through. Definitely historically accurate. I love the authenticity. I love the creativity of the script. I definitely love the way you slam so many different medieval lines into the script. And definitely the invisible space, which is there's an entity that is the plague that moves through the community. And definitely with my personal studies, I encountered whatever that entity was. Whatever it's named, I don't know, but it's definitely a force and it's very powerful. And if you want to be very short and sweet, and you have the books and you haven't read the books, and you want to be short and sweet to getting a grasp of what the film is before you go witness the film, read the weather section, read the living conditions section, and then read the plague section. Okay, then you would have to also read the undead and vampire section. I wouldn't advise anybody to ever hop around and read the literature like that. These books are definitely designed for you to read each one cover to cover. Don't ever read just volume 1 and volume 2 and not volume 3. If you read volume 1 and volume 2, you have to read volume 3. Because volume 3 is going to clean up the soul. The saints will definitely clean up the soul. Because I'm going to tell you right now that volume 2 is dark. Very dark. Dark beyond your imagination. Okay? That's very clear. And if you aren't vast in the mind, vast with the capabilities or the possibilities of existence is what I mean to say, then don't jump around reading the material. You have to read it from cover to cover if you want to gain your wings. And I don't know if your wings are going to be dove wings or bat wings. I don't know, because I don't know you. So, but definitely never get caught in the dimension that's in volume 2, because I almost did. I wrote the shit, you know what I'm saying? So I understood clearly that the energy in volume 2 gets so dark, bro, that you can actually feel your soul move in your body to like your arm and your hand and shit, or it'll move down into your leg. You can feel it because, your body, you filled your mind and your body with the darkness. And that is okay, because the planet gets dark every day. It's called midnight. The news is dark. You know what I'm saying? But, as the alchemist in the movie said, you cannot destroy evil without knowing evil. Okay? And that is the premise of the movie. So there's a lot of cuckoldry baseline of the movie, which boils back down to, the Adam and Eve situation, or even the situation with Jesus, okay, and Mary and John, okay, and how he was born. So, we have to, consider all of that. The movie is a psychological thriller. There's not a lot of blood. There's not a lot of, there's no heads chopping off and all of this other stuff. That is one thing that was definitely not shown for the representation of the medieval, was the scaffold or the executioner. But that's not a part of, what we're doing for the focus of the film. The focus of the film is ancient vampire, and this ancient vampire brought the plague. And that's the basis of it. So, yeah. I hope you learned something here today. If you got any questions about the medieval, shoot them now. But yeah, that is the basis. The basis is that little girls within their naivety of existence, when they're in their adolescence, will go out and they will sacrifice themselves or pledge allegiance to the dark entities, and they think it's all a joke in a game when they're a child. And these dark entities will come back later on to collect the soul. And when the little girl feels this, she'll ask her materialized husband, who is in the real world, to stay with her and not to go on the business trip and not to go attain the riches and chase your career with the Dark One, because you will in essence become the Dark One, or you will lose your wife during the course of you trying to attain the riches. And and you're attaining the riches for her and also for your respect in the community. So she will beg you not to go, and you will end up going anyways. You will be apprenticed to the Dark One. The Dark One will use you to carry out further deeds. Throughout the course of you carrying out further deeds of the Dark One, you actually become the Dark One, okay? Or you will say, no, I don't want to be the Dark One. You cannot utilize my flesh and representation, and you will revert. When you revert, you will become sickly. You will fall into the same status of your wife, because you have failed in attaining the riches. So since you have failed in the point of attaining the riches, you do not have the testosterone beastly power to make love to your woman where she submits to you. And this falls into the majority of men today who are all on these podcasts and all in these comments complaining about what they can't do to no woman. And, or what the whole line of submission is, as we see throughout the course of the film, that the female submitted to Nosferatu because he hit the coochie right. And what's really so cold about it is that he didn't even touch the coochie in reality. In reality, he was only messing with her coochie through her dreams. Okay? But she was still reaching the highest level of orgasm experience that her husband couldn't give her. So now that the husband has come back to be with the love of his life, instead of attaining the riches, he has failed in the areas of becoming the Dark One. He lost his wife to the Dark One, in essence. Okay? You have failed, you have lost your wife to the Dark One, and now the Dark One will die in the booty. And that's exactly what happened. The booty and the Dark One will die together. And you will be left with nothing but a filthy town filled with carcasses, because you have failed. You see what I'm saying? So I guess it's better off to be the Dark One. Who knows? The Dark One gets the coochie, but the coochie is not the essence of existence. The highest level riches is. And that's also what the Dark One had. He had the biggest mansions, and he had the most riches than anybody else in the whole film. And he has those riches coming from his bloodline, his forefathers, as he was stated, that the contract that Stephen signed was written in the language of his forefathers, okay? And he could not read it, only he could, okay? And that's just what it is, So always understand that, if you ain't digging in the back, if you can't reach underneath her belly button, and because women, like men, are chemical computers. That's the bottom line. I put more alcohol in your system, you will become drunk. I put more testosterone in a woman, she will produce a mustache or a beard. I put more estrogen in the male, you will walk with a switch. It's clear. I drop the pill in the woman's mouth, and she will not have the baby. I drop the pill in the male's mouth, and he will get, intoxicated and stupid and dance all crazy, you see? Because humans are chemical computers. Now, that is also input and output, because you are a chemical computer means that you already have chemicals in you. And that one chemical inside the woman is called oxytocin. Oxytocin is located in the back of her uterus. When she gives birth to a baby, and this is through a vaginal birth, not through C-section, there is a large amount of oxytocin that will be released into the room. It's a buttery sweet chemical smell. And this chemical makes the woman fall in love with the baby, so she can take care of the baby. As soon as you treat it as sensitive as possible, as soon as it's born. Okay? So, when it comes to the sexual experience, you have the goal to get the oxytocin out of the back of the coochie. When you get the oxytocin, because let me tell you something. I've been meaning to say this. If you don't tear flesh when you go inside of a woman, if you do not feel the rip of skin in her canal, you don't feel no rip, nigga, you don't own the coochie. You will not have her. She is not your woman. If you do not feel the tear of skin in the vaginal canal, then you do not have that woman. That woman is not yours. Okay? Know that. Okay? And it doesn't matter if she's already had babies or whatever the case. If there's a science to that, because the eggs are activated by a different seed, and that whole DNA structure from that other male is still up in there. And, the leftovers, or the genetic leftovers from male fluid inside of a woman stays inside of a woman for 7 years. Just keep that clear. So your main goal is, and when you experience the sexual union with her the first time, is to tear some flesh. And you put down some muscle memory. If you don't tear no flesh up in that coochie ain't yours, and that woman ain't yours. And she is liable to hop on the broom and fly out the chimney at any given moment. Okay? So you got to watch for that shit. Okay? And there's trickery put down. There's chastity rehabilitation surgeries. Yeah, there's, all types of tricks that they can employ. Sitting in vinegar water. There's all types of shit. But the fact of the matter is, you want to tear some skin. Okay. So, yeah. Even though Nosferatu didn't touch her physically, he definitely had her mind and her experience line wrapped up. And that's also another space, too. The experience. If she's a virgin in a lot of different experiences in life, then you can definitely hone that chastity space right there. You dig what I'm saying? So, yeah, the movie was good, but yeah, I definitely wanted to say that, put that. I almost forgot the point that I was leaning on from the get-go. But yeah, that is definitely the line. She'll disappear in the night, and she goes into these Sabbath places, which is the dream state that all women are connected by. All women are connected by one similar dream, and they all go to this one location. And this one location is where the dark one is at, and that is what the Sabbath is. And I just did the Sabbath video not too long ago. So this movie is also talking about that Sabbath, that incubus Sabbath space, and also getting direction from the dark one, and while at the Sabbath, okay, and sacrificing the baby and whatnot, because the little girl didn't get pregnant or anything during the course of the movie, but she definitely wanted to act as if she was in love with her husband, when in all reality, she knew through the course of this love that her materialized actual husband could never do to the coochie what the devil did. Okay, she did make that clear in the movie. And there's also a scene in the movie where they show the double thinking structure of the woman, where she's all pleasant, and then out of nowhere, within a snap of a millisecond, she flips on him and goes all crazy. But the movie was good. Basically, the movie was good. If we got any medieval questions, you better pop them up now, because I'm about to get up out of here. Let me see here. I'm reading some comments. Let me see here. Yeah, that is not what I say in those lyrics. Somebody is repeating some lyrics from one of my songs. That is not what I say. But yeah, so any medieval questions, y'all go ahead and donate. Nobody could bring you the breakdown to this movie like I could. This is definitely a movie that I'll put in the money religion mandate for study purposes, but you got to know what you're looking at. The only way you can know what you're looking at is by reading the Kicked Out of Heaven series. Nobody else is going to be able to explain European culture on this layer, you know, and how it all works, you know. So it's definitely a system there of, you know, like they show you in the 1930s and 40s television shows, don't be boning on your wife until she turns into a sexual object, because that's not what women want. Women want to be respected as, you know, an adult too, even though they may not have full mature adult thinking. They want to, and that is only based upon how we raise them, you know, and we're not raising them to be sound in the intellectual faculties, because like they say in ancient Egypt, in the origin stories of ancient Egypt, that a woman that is too educated has a problem with having children. They have problems with reproduction if they have too many words running around in their head. Women aren't supposed to have big words running around in their head, and that's why you talk to them in a monosyllable format. How are you doing? You know, where did you go to school? Would you like to drink? You know, would you like to come over? You see that? All the words were monosyllable or double syllable. Don't go outside the double syllable space. You got to keep it very simple. And, you know, and those women will stay very fruitful. They're not going to be dried fruit by having a whole bunch of religious and a whole bunch of facts up in their mind, which they think they can battle men with. And you'll never be able to battle men with our intellectual capabilities, because we can execute plans. You see, you being intelligent and just running your mouth and saying a bunch of shit and expecting somebody to fucking submit to what you're saying. But can you execute what you're speaking about? That's right. And you can't execute because you have no metaphysics in being an executioner. You see that? You see how that works? Only males were executioners. Okay? And that's in all civilizations, including African civilizations. There's certain tribes that had executioners too, and will lop your head off for your dumb shit. Do you understand me? So, you know, as a matter of fact, I've even read a case where they had a female executioner one time in I've seen a drawing of one in Germany, and in the early times, when 1100s and 1200s, you know, they usually would use a female executioner for female criminals, and they kept male executioners for male criminals. But the females kept on messing up so much during the course of the execution by getting nervous and cutting different areas of the head, or not cutting the head all the way off, and, you know, having to hack at the head 4, 5, 6 times, and you bungle the job, and you get the crowd upset. And when you get the crowd upset, you may end up being lunch. You understand? Because you are discouraging our desire for entertainment, and entertainment has to be done with a clean, swift job. So that means one swing of the blade, and we lop the head off correctly. Therefore, the fountain of the blood spilling from the spinal cord we can catch in our cups and clear the epilepsy, is how it worked in the medieval. Do you understand that? So we didn't have female executioners. So you don't have the metaphysics behind you. You don't have the human sacrifice within inside the stereotype in order for it to be alive. So you could talk all day about whatever facts you think you know, and you're only using that to debate with men. You want to just argue with men and whatnot. That's why they'll all sit around you listening, because you're just talking, you're not executing. You understand? So don't make things complicated, and don't, and you can't be animalistic inside the relationship and degrade women to the status of being just a sexual object. And that's why, they don't care about what happens with their daughters, or what happens with, they'll sell off their children and all that other shit, just so they can stay in a status of respect as an adult. So it's like, here, nigga, fuck on this. So you ain't trying to fuck on me, because I want to be respected as adult. I want to sit down and drink beer with you too and talk about fucking football. Yeah, that's what they want to do. They want to sit down with you and talk about the fucking sports game and be respected as a human. So that means you can't be poking and stroking on them all day, because when you do that, the respect line falls, because you see that their decision making and their capacity to stay in control is very small. Their eyes get to rolling in the head. They get to squirting and pissing and farting, and arms swinging everywhere, legs swinging everywhere. And you have to maintain control and focus during great beatdown session. And you have to restrict. You have to bind the beast. You have to bind the animal. You understand? That's what they tell you. And you can't handle me, right? Then what the fuck are we handling? Right, exactly. We will bind you. We will rope you up. That's why that white boy, he knows all this shit. He knows the oxytocin is in the back of the coochie. And if you're going to get the natural, the whole natural status of her saying daddy, calling you daddy and shit like that, that natural ambiance that comes out of a woman comes out once you get the oxytocin out. So if you can't get the oxytocin out, that's why short dick dudes are just, fuck it. They'll just put on the rubber glove and go in with the fist, nigga. You guaranteed to get the oxytocin in, you go in with the fist. I'm gonna tell you that shit. For real. Hey, this is how they took over the world. Why are you mad, man? I can feel the energy, girls rolling their eyes while they listening to this shit. Yeah, I know. You mad. Why you mad? Why you big mad? You big mad or little mad? Huh? Because that's what's going on. That's what the white boy did to your great-great-grandma, so that they can fucking control this shit and build a stock market and shit and make your ass pay rent. That's what happened. Okay, they got the oxytocin out the back. So if you want to know the truth, humans are chemical computers, and if you want so-called submission from a woman, then you're going to have to get it out of her chemically. And you have to get it out the back of the uteri, okay? Now, how you get it out is up to you. You know what I'm saying? Make it memorable and just throw some fucking flower petals around and make it exciting. You know what I'm saying? And then she will be happy. And happy is the status of when the woman and the parasite are in agreement. You understand how this all works? Yeah, fisting makes a guaranteed squirter. I'll tell you that shit. Yeah. No, don't be mad at me because I didn't create this shit. Let me tell you something. If it wasn't for the shit that everybody has witnessed on porn, okay, I wouldn't have never known about no fisting, because my mind would have never went there. And then I don't have to do no shit like that. I please them just by regular good old Barry White playing in the background, and we got some steam in the room. You think I don't need to do all that shit? Smoke a blunt, take a couple shots of this here, and we gonna lay it down. You understand? And that's all you really need. Real niggas, that's all they really need. You don't need all this other shit. But hey, if you want to put down mass dominance and you want her to look at you with the big wide eyes like a runaway slave sticking their head out of the bush, huh? If you want her to look at you like that and seek great waffles in the morning, okay, then, you might have to go up to the elbow, nigga. Remember, an 8-pound, 10-pound motherfucker with eyes and making noises comes out of there. So, hey, is it what it is? And that's why these women will always love a 50 Shades of Grey. They will always love the vampire and the Twilight. They will always love the Nosferatu, because you native niggas can't do it. You native niggas ain't got the balls to destroy. And the alien seeks great power, great destruction. Well, the woman seeks the destruction. The uterus falls in line of the respect for you to even cross that line, because the uterus sets up the social order that you think that makes you go into Urkel conditions, and you can't do this type of shit to her. You see what I'm saying? The female will respect it because you have destroyed the alien. And through the destruction of the alien, the voices in her mind minimize. It's like you turn down the volume a little bit on the voices that's running around in her head all the time. You see what I'm saying? And it shows that with you destroying the alien, that you got more love and respect to her as the woman. Okay, and that's what you want to do. That's why these events are held off for a Valentine's Day or a New Year's Eve or a July 4th Independence Day. And those are the great festivals. You're supposed to get some booty on those, and you got to spread it out throughout the course of the year, and you can't be in full repeat. You dig what I'm saying? You can't be in full every night dominance layers, because then they feel demoralized, and then they gonna look at you and say, "Are you turning me out? Are you making? I feel like a whore." Do you know how many girls I've heard that shit from? It's like, nigga, fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's, and then you got girls who are specialized in it and look at the whole thing medicinally. And once you have a relationship with a girl and she understands it medicinally, you'll get a lot more things done in your life. You dig what I'm saying? But yeah, but that's a very mature point of view. Women always want to keep it in the immature point of view of, oh, you want to just fuck on me like a puppy and blah, 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 all this so stupid shit. Instead of understanding we are adults, we live in a stressful world, and it's time for relief and stress to be relieved, okay? And then we sprinkle a little bit of worship on there so we can go to work tomorrow morning with a fucking happy mentality and get some shit done, because I'm trying to get this goddamn promotion and this raise on the job, okay? And you doing what you're supposed to do with great saliva arts that you are born with, then we can fucking progress. You dig what I'm saying? That's how you get more money in the shit. Like I said on one song, you ain't gonna succeed until the bitch succeed. You better get it. Okay? So I'm finna get the fuck up out of here. I definitely appreciate y'all coming in today. Women, don't be getting offended by what the fuck I'm saying, because these are the real arts. Ain't no female finna hop up in here and argue. They never do that. They never get up in the comments and argue, but they're not going to, because they can't. That's why I need to be up on these podcasts and really be talking to these women instead of these dweebs who don't get no goddamn, who ain't never had no woman shine his goddamn shoes out of her own inclination and desire to do so. Ain't never had no woman clean his fucking house out of her own inclination to do so. I ain't never had to tell no female to do no shit like that around me, and they do it willingly. And there's a reason why. Because I treat them appropriately. You dig what I'm saying? And, them dweeb ass niggas on them fucking podcasts got problems with the fucking coochie. I'm going to tell you right now. Yeah, Alien versus Predator. There you go. The brother is a genius. Okay? Look at what the genius. Alien versus Predator. The alien versus the predator. We going to predate. Is how we going to do it. So, yeah, I'm getting the fuck up out of here. Y'all get kicked out of heaven because you have to, in order to understand society and the shit that they trying to spill into it. For number one, let me put this link up here. And then y'all get y'all donate. Okay, keep me alive because I'm keeping y'all alive. This is the bloodline right now. You can call me Nosferatu in the motherfucker. Nigga need the blood, okay, to drink. Goddamn, to stay alive in this motherfucker. The fountain of youth, nigga. Okay. Look up the vampire face mask that Kim Kardashian was using. She put it all over her face, But yeah, she put her own blood on her face. It was a mask like you do with the cucumbers and shit. Bitch put blood all over her face. And niggas doing foul shit in the backdrop. You dig? But yeah, I'm finna get the fuck up out of here. Let's play this video. If y'all got any songs you want to hear, you better play it now. Because I'm about to play some tracks and bid outs. You dig what I'm saying? Let me see here. I'm trying to look for one. Oh, yeah, I'm going to play that one. I ain't played that in a minute. So, yeah, y'all let me know. Peace.
Got nothing to do, just wanna be with you.
alchemy. Is it to be or is not to be? When I'm on top, she can't stop the G. Mission impossible, possibly. And then she roll her eyes while she riding me. That's that southern hospitality. A bag of weed and some Hennessy. She lying to herself about her tendencies. Always trying to fight what's meant to be. I pull her hair when she bend the knee. And I'm on speed down cause of memories. I make her fantasies reality. Then finally, she get to live her dreams.
I ain't got nothing to do, just wanna be with you. I ain't got nothing to do, just wanna be with you. I ain't got nothing to do, just wanna be with you. I ain't got nothing to do, just wanna be with you.
I ain't worried about time cause she's all mine. She threw her drawers in the lost to find. She like candle wax up and down her spine. Rub the baby oil and them thighs gon' shine. She's a prima donna, that's one of a kind. Put her in a collar and tame her mind. Making her holler from the bump and grind. Then she wanna swallow like it's a crime. Gonna hit that lid with the bouncing tickle bits. Pull up to the crib when you fuckin' with this. Let her have expansion from her heels to hips. Then them legs gon' grip till they lock and twist. Ignorance is bliss, ain't nothing as real as this. So when we mix, come and get your fix. Medicine like the blunt I twist. When she wants some more, she just
I
lick
ain't
her
got
lips.
nothing to do, just wanna be with you. I ain't got nothing to do, just wanna be with you. I ain't got nothing to do, just wanna be with you. I ain't got nothing to do, just wanna be with you.
Top-notch gang, Saga City. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. Mirror, mirror on the wall, will a real nigga ball? Just trying to find a wish to make a prince out of frog. A lady with a tramp stamp, loyal for the big dog. The beauty loves the beast, she likes to foul my claws. See Mary pussy poppin', keep that chastity droppin'. I am just a leprechaun and that be needing me gold. Everywhere that I go, it's Sherlock Holmes on a hoe. Looking for Snow White, of course she got 7 dwarfs. Yeah, they pay her rent and light to give her money for support, but she'll disappear with the headless man on the horse. To explore the great sport, let the games begin. Late night, red light, we will dance in the sin. That innocence within will never see life again. Alice in Wonderland, we all wonder where you been. She says I'm late, I'm late, I'm late for a date and some ends. Now every day she wants to play with Mr. Rumpelstiltskin, nigga. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The Mad Hatter with Dapper make your pockets get fatter. Yankee Doodles never frugal with the abracadabra. Hypnotized by your eyes, all the rumors that chatter. Wet panties, dry purse, such a perilous matter. Better make them rats scatter like the cat awaits. My game is Pepe Le Pew, I be on the chase. My word suffocate, she got a blue devil face. Pimp Thunder, witch hunter on the tribunal case. Bitch, this the Inquisition, don't you rise my suspicion. You've been speaking with fairies and you've been eating with gnomes. Always got a big ol' stinking ass dog in your home. Need to get the proper fucking or be insane and alone. In this world you're a little girl and you need to be grown. So just close your eyes and take it to ice cream cone. She plead for what she needs so she can do what she prone. This is Dawn Juan, Python, till the night be gone, bitch. My name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. Name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. This the macaroni with Pinocchio's nose. On a white stallion with a glass shoe for your toes. I'll get your hair did, you'll have the finest jewelry and clothes. A peasant will see heaven when she do what she told. She wants to dance the La Macabre with the nature god. Do everything odd cause life's a facade. So she's gone with the wind so she can brag to her friends. Stupid chickens will do anything to stay with the trend. With that I sit back cause the fact her Kit Kat need a tic tac. She should relax with that beeswax. Cause these snaps, they all belong to me. I'm the one with the cane in this game of Monopoly. I collect every penny of the tax on my property. Better speak with etiquette, and that means properly. Little Red Riding Hood just don't know where she be. She reached to kiss the goat, and it was sloppy and obscene. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie. The name is Milton Bradley, I be pimpin' on the baddie.